morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Lively crowd, okay. Time is 9:30. Today is August 24th, 2023. My name is Mike Kelly. I'm the chairman of the board for the Johnson County Board of Commissioners. I'd like to welcome you all to today's meeting. First, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the meeting to order, and please take the roll. Thank you.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Here.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Here.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye. All are present. Would you all stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for joining us today. If you would all join me very quickly in checking your cell phone or other noise-making device, make sure that those are turned to silent. Please and thank you. We appreciate it. We have two recognitions this morning. The first, I am going to ask our Assistant County Manager and the former Airport Director, Aaron Otto, to please join us to give us a summary of the 2023 Garmin KC Air Show, which took place this last weekend at the New Century Air Center. Good morning, Mr. Otto.
Good morning, Chairman and Commission. It's my pleasure to introduce a number of people here related to this year's air show, but give you a little flavor of what it is, then we can see the people behind the scenes that made the magic happen. We were able to host through the KC Air Show organization, and we'll introduce you to some of their leadership team here pretty soon. A number of military aircraft graced our presence out at New Century. You can see an F-22, an F-35 Marine variant. You've got your Kansas Guard with the bottom left plane, and then of course we've seen the Thunderbirds here at New Century in years past, as in last year, for example, and in 21. We go to the next slide. It was a pretty amazing show, to say the least. I still find it amazing, having seen the Blue Angels twice at New Century in the last 3 years, that you can see this take place, and this is what they meant to do. And everything turns out well, and everybody goes home safe. So it's an incredible demonstration by, in this case, the United States Navy Blue Angels. Did 2 shows between Saturday and Sunday with thousands of people out at New Century as well. And then the last slide just gives you a little bit of an idea of some of the different aerobatic opportunities that they had at New Century. But the thing we wanted to recognize today is that this took over a year's worth of planning. The request for the Blue Angels to come to New Century, I think, was filed 19 months ago, to put it in perspective. And the organizing just continued to ramp up as we went through that. So I'd like to invite a number of people up to recognize the work of the public sector partners that help make this happen, many of which are part of your county government. And then also invite the president of the air show to give a couple comments about this year's show. But I'd like to invite up Josh Schonifer, representing the Airport Commission, Battalion Chief Alexi Haynes from MEDAC, the training manager for the ECC, Grady Victory, Captain Jacob Hayes from the Gardner PD, our interim fire chief for Fire District 1 of that area of New Century, Trig Morley. From Transit, we've got Justin Welker and Lisa Womack, who's the deputy director of your Transit and senior manager of mobility and innovation at Transit here in the county. We obviously had massive support from the sheriff's office. We also had, with our partners in Transit, John Randall, who is the general manager of TransDev, and Lori LaBounty, who's the assistant GM. And then last but not least, Corey Mullen, who's the president of the Kansas City Air Show that put on the 2019, 2021, 2022, and 2023 Air Show. Corey, would you like to make a couple comments?
It was a great air show. We appreciate everybody coming out for that. In the past 3 years, we brought over 75,000 people out to the Gardner area with that air show. We want to take this time to also give a special thanks to the Fire District 1 of Johnson County, Johnson County MEDAC, Johnson County Sheriff's Office, Gardner Police Department, the City of Gardner and the city's administration office, Kansas Highway Patrol, Olathe Police Department, KC Medical, DS Bus Lines, and we want to give a special, definitely thank you to the New Century Air Center and the Johnson County Airport Commission, Larry Pete, also George Hopper, Curtis, the rest of the staff there. It's been a phenomenal staff that they have. Without them, it'd be very tough for what we do. So anything we need or ask them, they definitely help us out. I wish that we could take them to any other air shows and locations that we do. There's a phenomenal group, and we just want to thank you guys as well as everybody else behind us. Without this team, you could not put this on, and this would be very tough to do. So a lot of people just think, they don't really see behind the scenes. There's so many, aspects. You hear a lot of people just say, oh, just a couple people there. No, it takes a large amount of people. And as Aaron said, we work on this for 19 months in advance. It takes a lot of things and time and effort that go into this event. So I want to thank every one of you, as well as everybody behind me.
One of the challenges when it's such a big event is you miss a few names. So Captain Jansen was with the Sheriff's Office and helped organize their efforts there. And Melanie Morales, who was with the Medical Director's Office, the Medical Examiner's Office, was also with us today. But again, thank you to the County Commission, these different departments of the county and other public sector partners. It's what took this to make this possible, because basically all of this really is a volunteer effort, to say the least. And it does bring a lot of attention to Johnson County, and it kind of helps us be a bit of a player in the region, to say the least. So we appreciate the opportunity to share these experiences with you and give a little recognition to this group. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Well, Mr. Otto, obviously all of us would like to express gratitude. So on behalf of the board, because it's in her district, we're going to allow Commissioner Allenbrand to express that
Thank you.
gratitude on
Thank
behalf
you,
of the
Mr.
board.
Chair. Again, I want to point out, this is what partnership is within the county and private sector and everybody pulling together. And my thunder was stolen, but I intend to bring it up again during opening comments. You talked about the 7,500. I know your numbers aren't completely in, of people that were actually on the airport property, but you don't know how many people. There was, I think, thousands of people lined up, going out to the airport. You see parties going on in yards. I went and checked around downtown Gardner, and special thanks to the city of Gardner for helping, and how many people were out there supporting. And, and then the paper, I felt like, they did talk about how many people had heat exhaustion, but if you think about how hot it was and the triage that MedAct and everybody had set up, you guys need to be congratulated. I'm very proud to be in this district, and thank you so much for the support. And Mr. Chair, again, I can't begin to say how grateful I am to see such partnerships and working together. This is what it's about. Thank you.
Again, thank you all. Next, we'd like to continue to celebrate some good work that's continuing to happen here in Johnson County. Today, we have a presentation recognizing those involved in providing wastewater services to Johnson County residents. At this time, I'd like to welcome Susan Pekarik, who's our General Manager for Johnson County Wastewater, to come up and present the NACWA Wastewater Peak Performance Awards. Ms. Pekarik, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, and good morning, Commissioners. I'm Susan Pekarik with Wastewater, and I am so pleased to be here today to recognize the work that our staff does to help keep our residents and our community and the environment safe with the work that they do every day. So if you're not familiar, Johnson County Wastewater provides sanitary sewer service to about 500,000 here in the county in 16 cities. We take the water that you use every day in your home or in your business, and we transport it to one of our 6 treatment facilities, and we clean it and return it to the environment. We treat approximately 60 million gallons every single day. The National Association of Clean Water Agencies, or NACWA, recognizes public wastewater utilities for outstanding compliance with their permits. Those are NPDES permits. In 2022, and they do these recognitions in July every year, and so this July we received 6 awards from NACWA. In the 2022 calendar year, for which we were recognized, I always like to kind of highlight how many compliance points we had, and I updated those this year. In 2022, we had 3,596 compliance points. So those are 3596 that we need to meet. We met 3,591 of those compliance points, so an overall compliance rate of 99.86%, which is just outstanding. The NACWA recognition program consists of 3 categories. There's the platinum category, and that is when you have 5 years or more of 100% compliance. The gold category is 1 year of 100% compliance. And the silver category is 5 or fewer violations in any given year of compliance, or in this case, in our 2022 year. So as I mentioned, all 6 of our facilities did receive awards. We received 3 platinum, 1 gold, and 2 silver awards. And so at this time, I'd like to call up each facility to receive their award, if I could. All right. If we could start with the Mill Creek team. Mill Creek received a silver award for 2022. You alone? All right. I just recognized I failed to highlight a couple of folks that make this happen, but these are the folks at the treatment facilities making this happen every day. But we also have with us today Jose Leon. He's the Director of Operations and Maintenance, and Isaac Crabtree, who is the Assistant Director of Treatment. There are a lot of other folks back in the office, from engineering to customer service to finance, and we all work together. The people we're recognizing here today, they're the ones on the front lines. They're the ones making this happen. They're the ones that when it's snowing outside or when there's a storm happening, they're the ones responding in the middle of the night to make sure that we continue to provide wastewater service. So we want to thank them. All right, Tomahawk Wastewater Treatment Facility. You received a silver award this year. Congratulations. Next, we have the Myron K. Nelson facility. We have some team members here. All right, Gary. Congratulations, Gary. Next, I would like to recognize the Douglas L. Smith Middle Basin team. The Douglas L. Smith Middle Basin team is receiving a platinum award. It's called a Platinum 9. That means they've gone 9 years with 100% compliance with their permit. Congratulations, Middle Basin. We're going to take a picture, big picture after, so that's why we're not, in the interest of time. Next, we have the New Century Air Center team. They are receiving a Platinum 11. That means 11 years with 100% compliance. If I could have... And last but certainly not least, we have the Blue River, Maine plant. Blue River is receiving a Platinum 17. That's 17 years with 100% compliance. Well, as I said, it takes a lot of people, including the support of this board, to make all this happen. These are the folks out there on the front line doing it for us every day. I'm really proud of everything you've done. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Ms. Pekarik, we are grateful for your leadership and for the success throughout the county at these various facilities. It is a great service to our ratepayers, to everybody in the county, and all those to whom our water flows. So it goes well beyond just the jurisdictional boundaries of Johnson County. We appreciate your success and your attention to detail. Thank you for what you do. We appreciate you. All right, that's the end of our presentations this morning. We'll now turn to the public comment portion of our agenda. We ask that the speakers speak on items that do not later appear on the agenda. This is a general public comment section. If you wish to speak on an action item, we ask that you register in advance. If you happen to speak on an action item, we'll ask that you refrain during this general section. When you come to the dais, please state your name, the city and county in which you reside. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. There's a clock that will appear to assist you with that time limit. If you happen to go beyond, I'm required to ask that you conclude your comments. We ask that folks refrain from comments that are impertinent or profane or that demean any particular person. If we get into that territory, we'll ask that you refrain, and if it continues, we'll ask that you step away from the dais. With that time, I'll ask the clerk to let us know when we are prepared to start, first with the virtual public comment. All right. I have one note from the record today. I will be signing Administrative Resolution Number WD 23-005, enlarging the privately financed sewer district and providing for the assessment of all applicable fees, charges, and levies of the Consolidated Main Sewer District in the vicinity of Midland Drive and Gladstone Avenue. At this time, we'll move on to the business session, starting with the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as printed? Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Mr. Chairman?
Hanslick, second.
Hansick is second. Commissioner O'Hara?
Yes, I just wanted to let the public know that this is all about concerning appointments to various county boards. So that is what the entire consent agenda is on. Thank you.
Right. Seeing no other comments, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Hallenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye. 7 votes in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Very good. Let's move on then to item number 16, which is resolution number 077-23. It's an application for a final development plan for a new airline hangar at the new Century Air Center. Diane Wickland joins us again. Ms. Wickland, welcome back. Thank you for your report during agenda review. Is there anything further that you'd like to add regarding this item?
No, there's no updates from last week's presentation. And just a reminder that this final development plan for the airplane hangar does come to you with a recommendation of approval from planning staff and the zoning board with stipulations. And just also to note that there were no members of the public that spoke on this application at the zoning board meeting. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much for your explanation of this plus item. Commissioner Allenbrand, this is your district.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this is in my district, and what exciting news that the hangars are being upgraded, and I intend on in commissioner comments to talk about some of the things that are going on out there with economic development, and this has gone through all the boards. No one contested it, and when you're ready, Mr. Chair, I do have a motion.
All right, thank you. Commissioner O'Hara?
Yes, I just have a quick question, and this probably is more to Mr. Otto. Will this hangar be eligible for tax incentives? Okay. So the answer is no?
That would be correct.
Yeah, this is a small one of potentially 2 hangars built on the site. There has not been a history of, when it's a private hangar as such, of doing any IRBs, and none were requested.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Allenbrand, how about a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to adopt resolution number 077-23, which approves a final development plan for the airport hangar for the reasons and subject to stipulations set forward in the resolution.
Hanslick, second.
So moved by Commissioner Allenbrand and seconded by Commissioner Hanslick. Any further questions, comments on this one? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Hallenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye. I have 7 votes in favor and none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on to item 17, which is the consideration for authorization of $500,000 in SLFRF funding for the purpose of funding eligible programs as directed by the board. Brent Christensen is here to discuss this matter. Becky Jones gave us a report on this last week. It's items that we have seen previously. Mr. Christensen, any further information you'd like to provide us regarding these items?
I would just like, again, Brent Christensen from Financial Management Administration. And again, this $500,000 is from dollars that we repurpose from public health dollars that came out of where we had it originally in our direct community investment side. In that when we looked at repurposing, we had talked to different department heads to provide proposals for us on how to spend these funds. And as proposed on August 3rd and tabled, and additional questions were asked, I believe we responded to those questions. We also provided additional options as requested. That's what you'll see in front of you. Again, we are following the same process as we have for the last 15 months in regards to vetting out the various proposals. And for our department, when we say vet it out, we're saying that we're working with the community partners, answering their questions, working through to make sure they're eligible. We're also submitting those to Whit O'Brien, who's the county's consultant, who we've had since 2020. And they're also reviewing it, signing off on it before we even come to the board. So what we have presented is for the various options, they're all eligible under the SLFRF eligibility rules. And with that, I will take any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Allen Brand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I reached out to Mr. Christensen, and also I did a little research on my own. You know, the Board of County Commissioners in 2022, we voted different buckets of, distributing of funds, and I know I've approached Ms. Jones thinking that there might be some, some of the areas that I have within my district that could work, and she's been very easily to work with. And again, I want to remind people, these are funds that have strict guidelines of usage, and I know we hear a lot about send those funds back, and I was privileged to attend a commissioners gathering in DC, and there was someone that had another county that had stood up and said, we're proud that we returned, and it was millions of dollars. And there was somebody there from the federal government, so we really appreciate you returning that because we just distributed it to other counties. And I'd much rather keep this money within our county and have our, our community organization share this. And I really feel like the staff has gone through, even before, Mr. Thompson's here and he can't speak, but I know how due diligent he was. And I feel like I just really support this, and I have a motion when you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I just want the public to know that we are looking at three options to distribute the $500,000, $250,000 to Mercy and Truth Medical Missions, and $250,000 to New Creation Incorporated. They are a substance use disorder program. Option 2 is to consider allocating the $500,000 to the Johnson County Wastewater District or the theater in the park through the Parks Department. Or option 3, open a call to the community to award additional programs. So those are the two options that we are looking at. I realize that the chairman loves to streamline the business meeting, but it's very important that the public understands what we're voting on. Thank you.
Commissioner Fast.
Yeah, so a competitive search was not correct. That's correct. No
That is
competitive
correct,
search.
Commissioner.
No RFP, correct?
No.
Okay,
And
so,
that's-
Becky said there's like 100. I did a search. There's maybe 10. KDADs would love to have 100, prevention, treatment, recovery, Oxford House, Lorraine House, Heartland Radak, First Call, Friends of Recovery, Mirror, Artists Helping Homeless. Not a lot of agencies do prevention, treatment, recovery. These are all good agencies, just like New Creation. And why government does RFP is to remove bias, to create transparency so that we have outcomes, so we have the best bang for our buck. So we know that our tax dollars is being used for a project efficiency. So you get the audit, the budget. All we have is a paragraph in the materials. That's all we have. That's all we were given. So I am for going out to do a competitive search. That is what government should do. Johnson County residents depend on us to do a competitive search, to allow all these agencies. Otherwise, what I heard last week is we're going to select these two because they're friends of staff or staff like them, and we don't want to do the extra work to do the RFP. That's what I heard last week, and I hope that's not it, because I don't think an RFP, and there's only one FQHC and one safety net clinic, it wouldn't take long to do that RFP, would it?
Okay, so if I can answer. So if we did a call to the community, what we're talking about is additional programs, not that we're going to be this narrow. Is that
You
we're going
couldn't narrow the RFP.
Well, we could, but if you really want to ask to open it up to the
I'm
community.
asking to open
You
it
let
up.
him answer the question,
If we
please.
open it up to the
I
community,
want-
we need to open up to the community, and that's where I think Becky was referring to, that we're going to get a lot, because we had a lot of calls back in 2020, and we'll get those additional calls as well. But as a reminder, is that, well, I think Commissioner O'Hara said it this last week, is that this is unprecedented. This is not something we've done. In 2020, we received $117 million, and you gave us the go-ahead to program all the money back then. We came to you and said, this is how we spent it on these eligible expenses, because we were in more of an emergency mode. Then we got that next tranche of money in 21, and we took our time in developing a plan, which was shared with you in the community hall meeting in June. And we said, we're going to take $85 million, okay, in lost revenue that helped us do other things. We're going to take another 31+ million for direct community investment. And that was all laid out to the committee, to the board, back in June. And we said, are you good with this? And including the $5 million that was in that figure, okay? And we got the go-ahead. And that's how we brought programs forward for, this would be the 5th integration of asking to approve some different programs. And it takes a lot of work in working with the community partners and working with the public health department or the mental health department, the human services and aging department, because they're working closer with those partners than we are. But if we're just going out there and spreading it out, we should have done that back in 21 and 22, and we didn't do that. It's $500,000. We're in football season, so we're at the 1-yard line. I'm just trying to get this across into the end
You
zone.
can't do an RFP that's good to the agencies that our primary mission is focused on prevention, treatment, and FQHC and a primary safety net. So you couldn't narrow the RFP to Johnson County with factors that are similar, that narrow the factors. We do these every day in government.
You're the policymaker, so if that's the will of the board, we absolutely can do that. What I'm telling you is, it takes a while to get that done, and it takes the same amount of time to look at a $10,000 request that it does for a $100,000 request. And we'll have to keep it out for so long. We have to review it. We got to go through the Witt O'Brien and get it to you. By that time, we're talking the end of the year. That gives whoever is awarded 6 months, because we're doing a soft close by July, and we're also monitoring what has already been approved, because our process is when we approve a grant, we just don't give you $250,000. We could do that. We chose not to do that, and we chose not to do that from 2020. It's a reimbursement process. You have to submit, and we look at it and say, is this eligible? You told us this is what you're going to do. Did you do it that way? And it's reviewed by 2 different people in my office before we actually reimburse somebody. So we're monitoring how the spending is going, and we will be providing updates either later this year or the first part of the new year, so you have an idea of where we're sitting on money that you've already approved for programs. Because I have a feeling is that we're not going to be able to spend it all. And I think, Commissioner O'Hara, you mentioned it about wastewater. It's like we provided other alternatives, and we have other Plan B what to use it, but we're trying to focus on direct community investment. That's, from our office, that is what we're trying to accomplish here. But as policymakers, you can choose whatever you like.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Christensen, for that review of the SLFRF money and the decisions that have been made to this point. And I also appreciate you and your staff providing the two internal alternatives to use this $500,000. I agree with Commissioner Fast that I have not been real comfortable with how these two particular agencies were chosen. Nothing against them. I'm sure both of them do very fine and important work. But at the same time, I do think going through an RFP process would be very, very cumbersome. And in my experience as a nonprofit director, when you end up with just getting a small amount of money, it really doesn't make a lot of difference. So at this point, my feeling is I would like to see us consider either moving that money internally to help with the Johnson County wastewater or the theater and the park improvements. I think both of those benefit our residents. They help pay for, especially in the case of wastewater, they pay for improvements that are already underway and have to be paid for anyway. So those are my feelings about it at this point, and I look forward to hearing what my fellow commissioners think.
Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Chair. I do understand this is a unique opportunity. It's a unique situation. We've been going through these opportunities for this funding for quite a while. As I said last week, I wish there was a little bit more communication because I think there was some misunderstanding from the board. But my position is that I think we are far enough down the road. I know Mr. Thompson, when he was on staff, he started working on this before he even left the county and has been working on it for some time. He was very much aware of these organizations, made contact. I don't want to couch it as friends of the staff. That's not the situation. It's meeting the needs and meeting the requirements to be able to receive the funds and the funding. And I'm comfortable with these two organizations receiving the funding, and I believe they have the need for the funding. Again, my point is in this situation, and I think we've learned from it, it is a unique situation. I don't know if it's ever going to rise again, but I think if it does, we're all, staff and the BOCC, is going to have a better understanding of being ready and being provided some of the communication that's important when we have this type of funding available. But I think we're far enough down the road, and I'm comfortable again with these organizations, and I'm ready to vote to approve as being presented.
Well, Mr. Christensen, thank you. Appreciate the presentation. Thank you to Ms. Jones and for all the work you all have done. You mentioned that we're kind of on the 1 yard line here. We've been through quite a process, and a lot of it started well before I got here. And so it was playing a little bit catch up for me. But one of the things that I was very proud to learn was the diligence that goes through within our procurement process and our vetting process just traditionally, and then with the unique nature of SLFRF funding. And the community-wide support fund that we have. So I appreciate the work that went through. And I appreciate the good organizations across the community that we've already helped. I think helping artists, helping KU Edwards campus, helping Johnson County Community College, and other outside organizations has made a dynamic impact. We've also been able to help internal organizations, like funding Theater in the Park, like funding wastewater projects. You know, we've done a nice job, and so I congratulate your team for that. While we always could go out and do additional RFPs, we need to consider what's the not only financial cost of that, but the staff time cost, and what's the expected benefit. If we wanted to do that kind of a process and put it in a more robust fashion, should have done it in 2022. So to criticize it at the last minute, I don't think is fair to you or your department. I know we all have different opinions here, so everyone has, I believe, had an opportunity. Well, everyone's at least had one opportunity to ask questions on this. No, Commissioner O'Hara, Commissioner Ashcraft. I believe you did have an opportunity once. I just want to make sure everyone has an opportunity before we go second rounds. So I'll come to you unless others who have not had an opportunity to speak take it. Commissioner Ashcraft.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I was not here last week for the initial discussion. I will assure you that I would have preferred to be here last week than what I was doing. But I am here, and I would like to offer that even though I was not here, I did try to review the program, but I also reached out to representatives from both of these organizations, Ms. Roth and Ms. Hansen, and as I understand, Ms. Roth is no longer with Mercy and Truth. So I've talked to Arthur Smith, and I don't know if Mr. Smith is in the audience today, but I also visited with staff several times on this project, this briefing sheet, and historically have looked at it. I will offer, and I'm not trying to lose my voice, but I think I'm a little bit raspy, so I apologize if I sound like I'm about to cry.
Get me excited.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I would like to, if I could, Mr. Chairman, if there are representatives of these two groups here or of Mr. Christensen, and I know Mr. Christensen is playing backup batter for Ms. Jones, and I don't want to put him on the spot necessarily, but I was wondering if representatives or Mr. Christensen could tell us on these two that are being proposed, what does success look like? And what happens, or what would happen, if these awards are not presented?
Yes, so we had talked a little bit, and one of the things is, you know, how loose is the success rate, right? When we were talking about new creations, and they were talking about the 80%. And so I didn't have luck with trying to get detail from the agency, so I called a friend and used Robert Sullivan from the corrections to gather up additional data, because this program is regarding former incarcerated men. And he provided with me a Washington State Institute for Public Policy in regards to help mitigate the negative impacts of folks that are getting out of jail and trying to re-enter society. Their cost-benefit analysis is that they showed that the program produced a 92% benefit for the folks to work their way back into society successfully. So, and now some of that included some job training and employment, but this also included substance abuse treatment that this group is doing as well. So, again, what they mentioned to Becky in conversation, I'm going and looking at another reference point for you, Commissioner, so that there is at least one other common denominator that reflects that there is a success in supporting this type of program.
One clarification, though, Mr. Christensen, if I could. In my conversations with representatives from New Creation, I was under the understanding if this grant was not awarded, that they felt that they could find a similar grant or similar support elsewhere. Is that not true?
That is correct, and Becky has worked with them to have other suggestions that they can look for, because this is what we're asking to provide is only goes through June. This doesn't pay the full cost for rent or food stuff. It's subsidized, but to try to help that organization in ways to providing other outlets, and because that's really our job, is to direct them other places that they could look for additional funding. So we have done that.
This is an expendable, this is not a capital item in their case?
Correct.
Okay. And in the truth and mercy and truth, my understanding is that was that they were wanting to, and this may not be the exact terminology, but create a new program around the population they currently serve.
Yeah.
It is a service that currently is provided by other service providers in the county, including Johnson County Mental Health. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, very good. And I appreciate those clarifications. And I understand what my colleagues are talking about. Unfortunately, these two have tended to be rather squishy, and I have had reservations in that regard for items, not just these two, but previous, and even though they have passed the commission, I've expressed concerns here. I do suggest, though, at least in part, and I respect what Commissioner Fast is asking, if we had a more thorough understanding of what the operations were, and for this arena of service providers and what they could provide, I would be more comfortable. But I would also be more comfortable if these items went to wastewater. I'm sorry, I love our park system, but that's really a bridge too far for me. But wastewater and to help with potential relief with these funds and any additional funds. So I look forward to the motions and the debates, but that's kind of where I'm residing.
Fair enough. Commissioner O'Hara?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'll address sending the dollars to wastewater. That is not going to be equitably to the service of all of Johnson County. That because we have the Olathe, they have their own sewer district, and there's a large amount of the county that is still on septic tanks. So that's an issue for me. Getting back to the RFP process, this board has had a history of awarding funds without an RFP. Actually, we had an RFP out for the $23 million that we gave to Evergreen for the service of folks that needing nursing home care. And that was withdrawn. And then without an RFP, it was $23 million was given to Evergreen. The other favorite child of the county is United Community Services. And this is really interesting because we have an assistant county manager that is on the board and is actually the treasurer, and then our county manager is on the advisory council. So we have a lot of room to improve. I'm very torn on this because these two groups appear to be facilitating very valuable programs. And I understand the short timeline of going out for a full-fledged RFP. We're in a real conundrum. We really are. And the division on the board, and I'm not finished talking, Mr. Chairman, and the division on the board shows this. but I just think that transparency is extremely critical. So I understand what Commissioner Fast is saying, and then on the other hand, do we actually have the time to do the process correctly? I am still debating in my mind as to how to vote on this, but sending this to wastewater, I mean, I've talked in the past that it would have been nice to be able to use some of this money to retire some debt. But when you are talking about a specific percentage of folks in the county that would be benefiting from it, that makes me really, really uncomfortable. So anyway, yes, I look forward to the debate.
All right, so now that we've all had a chance to pontificate, how about a motion, Commissioner?
Excuse me, hold on. Excuse me.
Thank
Chair,
you.
We
Thank
have
you.
2 speakers.
I appreciate that.
Thank
Okay. Thank you for the reminder. Mr. Hobart, public comment. If we can prepare for the public comment, I appreciate it.
What?
Go right ahead.
Ben Hobart, Westwood Hills. The briefing sheet is still downloading. I didn't click on the agenda item to know there was a briefing sheet. When I first saw this, I thought, what sort of disclosure is this? Items for $500,000 as directed by the board. And that's all it says. It doesn't refer back to what has transpired. It doesn't give the public the full benefit of what the discussions have been, what the alternatives are. Now, I still don't have the briefing sheet downloaded, so it may all be embedded there, but for somebody who's new to the process, this doesn't look very good. You know, there's been references to slush funds, and this is the state and local fiscal recovery funds of the COVID money from the feds, and that's fine. But you guys and gals have got to recognize that process and transparency and full communication makes a heck of a lot of difference to your credibility and your ability to bring the whole county together in a unified position on any issue of import. And you're not doing it. You're not doing it. Sorry, I'm a little upset. Thank you very much for listening.
Next is Lucy Brown. I think that's it. What was the last name? Lucy Brown. Okay.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. I'm Lucy Brown. I'm the founder and executive director of Lorraine's House. We are transitional housing for women who are building a healthy life and recovering from addiction and trauma. I've worked in the field of substance abuse treatment for over 30 years in Johnson County, and over that time have recognized a huge need for women's services. Having done an overview of what's available for women entering recovery in Johnson County versus men, the disparity is shocking. Last count, there were about 7 women's facilities. There are 29 for men, maybe more than that now. So we are focusing on the specific needs of women who are wanting to stay in Johnson County, wanting to have the opportunity to live in this beautiful area where the crime is low, where they can feel safe, have self-respect and dignity. Our program works extensively on ensuring successful recovery by way of sobriety, but also employment. 95% of our women find employment and maintain employment from the first month. That other 5% are on disability, so they do volunteering within the community rather than employment. Over the nation, what I've discovered in my extensive travels with business is that there is a huge need for women's services. I found out about this last week, so I feel very strongly about transparency in this process. We operate on a shoestring, as do many nonprofits, and this money would be transformative for our small community.
I would like to have the opportunity for you guys to learn a little bit more about what we do, the difference that we make. We are located throughout Johnson County, Olathe, Overland Park,
Ms.
Leawood,
Brown.
Merriam. So
Ms.
we
Brown.
are making a difference.
Thank you
very
very
much.
Appreciate you. All right, Mr. Christensen, you're here for providing questions or context. Commissioner Allenbrand?
Mr. Chair, I do have a motion, but I would like the opportunity just to say a couple other things, because I feel that, first of all, we do have agenda reviews, and very rarely do we go in with a cold agenda. So to say there's no transparency about what's coming up before us is provided to the public, it's online, and so I want that to be said. And to say this is government at work, I feel that the staff has done an unbelievable job. I think it's my responsibility as a commissioner, and I have to say, this has been going on since 2021, and we voted on it in 2022. And so, shame on me that I could have dug a little bit deeper. So to say there's no transparency, to me, it's not the truth. And the division of commissioners up here, everybody has an opinion, and there may be a difference of opinion, and it's okay to have a difference of opinion. What saying there's no transparency in what's going on up here, to me, is just not true. So I'm going to vote in support of this. I think there could have been a better way to do it, and if I had my choice, I probably would have voted to go to Theater in the Park for the handicap services. But, you've been doing this since 2022, and, I should have reached out. So, Mr. Chair, I don't know if you want me to go ahead and make this motion, or if you want to.
Let's go ahead and get a motion
Okay.
on the table, and then we'll take it from there.
I move the board authorize the allocation of COVAS SLUF received from the United States Department of Treasury in the amount of $500,000 for the purpose of finding eligibility programs as directed by the board, and I probably should say SLFRF funds.
Myers, second.
So, and just to clarify on the motion, that is to fund the Mercy and Truth Medical Missions clinical renovations and the New Creation, Inc. Substance Use Disorder Program, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Made by Allenbrand, seconded by Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Fast?
Yes, I have a substitute motion. I move the board authorize a competitive search notifying agencies whose primary mission is addiction, recovery, prevention, or treatment, and agencies whose primary mission is safety net health clinics, or an FQHC, the allocation of coronavirus SLRF received from the United States Department of Treasury in the amount of $500,000. Competitive search is for that allocated amount.
Okay, so moved by Commissioner Fast. Second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ashcraft. Discussion on the substitute motion. Commissioner Allenbrand?
Mr. Chair, fellow colleagues, I can't support that motion. I think that we had an opportunity in 2022 to go out and pick certain organizations. If you're going to do it, you need to do it to all. And I feel like at this point in time, if I had my choice, I would have supported the Parks and Rec. And I feel like at this point in time, the staff has done a great job, and I just can't support that.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to repeat what I said earlier, and I think we are all feeling a little bit of consternation with this. Sometimes we wish it were easy, but it's not. But I did want to speak to one issue. We throw the term transparency out, and as I'm listening to our conversation, transparency seems to come across as meaning different things to different people. And that's fair. There are several levels to that. And what may be apparent to me may not be apparent to someone, and I don't know if Ms. Brown is still here, but to someone in the community who is not necessarily as well connected with the intricacies of every local government, plus every state government and every federal government. So we have to be extremely diligent. And Mr. Christensen made a valid point, and I think we all realize this has been a very unusual, it's been a unique environment in terms of funds available for specific services and the requirements that dictate it. Having said that, Yes, the process has not been perfect, and I'm not sure it probably has been perfect anywhere, and we need to go through this to try to do the best we can. And I think Commissioner Fass's intention is noble and is correct, and while it might be additional work and might be problematic, I would say that in terms of my definition of transparency, it would be fair to put that out there with that intent to try to get the feedback. So that's why I seconded it, and that's why I will support it.
Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Chair. I have a couple concerns. One of my concerns is timing. I think there's going to be a real struggle with the timing aspect of the issue. I have another concern that when you reopen at this late a time with the other organizations that would be going out and soliciting to put in applications, the amount of money, $500,000, even though it sounds like a lot of money for a lot of these organizations and how they need to utilize the funds, it could get dispersed to where it really wouldn't be the kind of benefit to many of the organizations. This is just my belief of what their needs are going to be. My other concern is, again, we're so far down the road with these two organizations. We're definitely moving the goalpost on their understanding of what was taking place, the process that they went through, and to be fair to those organizations, it is really changing their processes, which they've done things properly through the process that was presented through them. So those are my concerns and reasons for not feeling that that's the best route for us to take.
Commissioner O'Hara.
I want clarification. Mr. Christensen, one of the organizations would be eligible for another $250,000 from another grant. Can you reiterate that, please?
That they would be eligible for the United Community Service.
So they would be getting $250,000
They could request whatever they want.
to the United
From the work that they do, they could
Community Services.
pull it from there. They could request funding from there.
Okay, I believe that that's the amount that the county gave United Community Services this year. Is that correct, or did they receive more?
They receive more.
They received more.
Could I just add?
Mr. Christensen, go ahead.
I appreciate Commissioner Ashcraft was like, because in my talking notes, and it took a while to figure out what to actually say, because obviously we weren't perfect, but I feel we were darn good. We've been through 3 fiscal audits of these grant funds without any findings. And in how we went about this is that I worked within the parameters that I thought we were working under in June. So the request of saying, I want to go out and do something different, I'll take that responsibility because I was working on the parameters of what was more or less the marching orders from this dais back in June. But I would like to throw out a piece because I am a public servant and I'm not looking to keep somebody along the side, is that I mentioned earlier, I think we're going to have some approved programs that might not be able to spend it. Because before we did this $500,000, we asked past recipients, how are you doing? Do you need more money? Including the food pantries. Mm-hmm. And they said, we're good right now. Now that might change a little bit when the fall comes and we have the holidays, but what I would throw out to you, you have $500,000. You can break it up however you want. You could put it all in one place. You can make it $250. You could give each one $100. Whatever you feel like, okay? But what I'm saying to you is that we could look at a community call that we don't have a dollar tied to it, where it gives us some time to say, we might have some surplus, and we could work with those community partners and know that if they have something that's eligible and they can get it expended, it's something that we could bring forward to you in another time. But I don't want to promise anything. I'm just telling you that we are monitoring, and we know that we're probably going to have that case.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. Let's get back to the motion at hand. This is a substitute motion made by Commissioner Fast to the motion originally brought by Commissioner Allenbrand. For the points already made, I won't reiterate them, other than to say that timing is the key issue, and being able to make sure that we can be in compliance with the Department of Treasury for the utilization of these funds, because we have 4 eligible options here with which I am comfortable. I'm not going to support going out to an RFP at this time. Now, one thing I will say is I'm sure and I know that there are many other organizations throughout Johnson County that do fantastic work that could have their work expedited or enhanced based on some one-time funding. I'm sure Lorraine's House does amazing work, and I'm going to connect with Ms. Brown after this meeting to talk about ways in which we might find partners to support Lorraine's House. And I look forward to having that conversation. I look forward to meeting you. But at this time, I feel comfortable with the options that have been presented by staff, so I'm not going to support the substitute motion. Commissioner Fast?
Well, I really appreciate, Brent. I hope you didn't think I was criticizing you during, the food pantries. I worked with Maury and contacted every food pantry to let them know. And when we helped the small business artists, I went and contacted. And I didn't know about this until a month ago, or I would have done the same if I knew this was in the process. I would have contacted all these agencies. So I take responsibility for that. And that's what I did during previously. And I always voiced concern. This isn't new. I know some of you are saying, well, you didn't say anything before about competitive search. I have all along the way with Maury, and I tried to overcome that. It wasn't by letting everyone know to contact Maury. And if he was here, he could say that he got tons of emails from people that said, Becky, to call you. The little food pantry, it's just in the front porch. I went to visit them and told them to apply for the food. I told the harvester. I spent a lot of time letting everyone know. So I don't want to say that I understand the point that this is in the 9th inning and you're a little, I can't do football analogies, but so, I really hope that we can, like what you said, because I don't think there's the support on this. And I'm not saying, I'm a social worker. You do great work, New Creation, Truth and Mercy. Social workers, we want to help everyone. So I hope you don't think I'm picking on you, because that is not my value. It's not why I ran for office, is not to say you're doing bad work. And so that is the value underlying this reason. I don't think my motion will pass, but we might as well go forth.
Well, then let's call the question on that substitute motion. Is there a second on the call to question? All right, would the clerk take the roll? This is on the substitute motion.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, no.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, no.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, no.
And Chairman Kelly.
No, 3 votes in favor, 4 against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Okay, back to the original motion. Commissioner Hanslick?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to offer another substitute motion, and that is I move the board authorize the allocation of coronavirus SLFRF received from the United States Department of the Treasury in the amount of $500,000 for the purpose of funding the Johnson County, in part, Johnson County wastewater 103rd and Metcalf capacity improvements.
So moved by Commissioner Hanslick. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Ashcraft. Discussion on the substitute motion? Commissioner O'Hara?
I've already made comments that I was concerned that it is too narrowly benefiting a certain segment of the county.
Commissioner Hanslick, Commissioner Ashcraft, Commissioner Allenbrand.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to point out, as Ms. Pekarik had mentioned this morning, the Johnson County wastewater serves 500,000 people of about 600,000 in our community. So it is pretty widely utilized, as well as, I mean, you could say the same thing about almost anything. For example, not everybody in the county is going to access Mercy and Truth or New Creation. So I don't think that argument is a valid one.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
I withdraw my question.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Even though I appreciate Commissioner Hanslick's comments, and I always say that Ms. Pekarik has a Disneyland in her wastewater, but in my district, not all is used to that. And if I had my say, I'd much rather, give the money to the theater in the park to meet handicap needs because of the attendance there. But so I can't support the motion.
All right. Any other questions at this time? Seeing none, let's call the question on the substitute motion from Commissioner Hanslick.
Commissioner Fast.
Yes.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, no.
Commissioner O'Hara. No. Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, yes.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, no.
And Chairman Kelly.
No. 3 votes in favor, 4 against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Okay. To the original motion, further questions, comments?
So, Brent, I would like discussion of what you propose, that would come forth to us.
Yep, absolutely, because we are planning for contingency options, so yes.
All right. Questions on the motion from Commissioner Allenbrand? Seeing none, let's call the question.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, no.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
No.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye. I have 5 votes in favor, 2 against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Okay, the motion passes. Mr. Christensen, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, on to item number 18 today. And that is a open public hearing for the governing board of us, sitting as the governing board of Fire District Number 2, on the proposed budget and to exceed the revenue neutral rate, and adopting resolution number 2023-1, authorizing a levy of property taxes in support of the budget for Fire District Number 2 for the fiscal year 2024. Mr. Francis is here with us. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing for the proposed budget and to exceed the revenue neutral rate of Fire District Number 2. Mr. Francis, you gave a presentation at our agenda review. Is there more report that you'd like to provide at this time regarding Fire District Number 2?
Chairman, I just wanted to follow up with the information that was asked last week that we did not provide, and that was the new growth. So just to let you know that the revenue neutral rate, to meet that, would have to be a reduction of $413,000. The new construction has a value of approximately $110,000. So that's about 2.57% new growth of the assessed valuation.
Thank you very much. All right, before we get into comments here, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody who would like to provide public comment as it relates to the budget for Fire District Number 2? Not seeing anybody? Okay. Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief Francis, I want to thank you for last week, your very thorough presentation. It was very detailed, and thank you for the new information. I made a note about the growth. I really appreciate it because nobody reached out to me asking any questions as far as constituents. So I really appreciate all the work that you've gone through and also your help and with the other fire stations. And so, Mr. Chair, when you're ready, I do have a motion.
Okay, Commissioner Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Francis, as you know, I was not here last week, but you and I did have the opportunity to visit, and I appreciate you spending some time attempting to educate me on this. I was wondering if you could reiterate at the level that I can understand it, because you are a fountain of information, and it's hard to keep up with you sometimes. So if you would. You're asking that we increase the revenue neutral rate by, what would be the mill levy approximately if we were to try to stay at the revenue neutral rate?
General fund
By
levy,
fund.
To meet revenue neutral, the general fund levy, if I'm looking at this right, is 12.960. The proposed general fund levy is 13.878, so a difference of 0.918. That equates to approximately $413,000 if you don't consider new growth.
That's my next question.
Subtract the new growth out of it, you're looking at $303,000 reduction.
But what would be the rate if you added new growth in?
Stand by, I've got that somewhere. Ted here? Ted, what
It'd be
is it?
about 13.1.
That was the number I already gave him. That includes the new growth? Yeah, the 12.918, or excuse me, 12.960 included the new growth.
But the 12.96 includes the new growth?
Yes.
Okay, so what would it be without the new growth? The actual calculation for the revenue neutral as prescribed?
12.662.
12.662.
Or I misstated that earlier.
Very, very good. That is what's in the briefing sheet, so I just wanted to be clear on that. Okay. And what would be the impact on operations if we, and I realize the intent of the legislature, at least I think I do, in terms of revenue neutral. I am a little bit more flexible, recognizing the impact of new growth, particularly on fire operations. But what would be the impact on your operation if we held the mill levy to new growth level versus what you're requesting?
Okay, so what you're really asking is, could Fire District 2 reduce expenses by $303,000? So let me explain how this works with Fire District 2 since we started contracting out services with Overland Park Fire Department and Fire District Number 1. Both of those contracts are really the lion's share of Fire District 2's budget. We are tied to their salary increases, their expenses associated with positions and employees that we are funding. Fire District 2 has about $450,000 of direct expenses out of the general fund that are funded by Fire District 2, such as apparatus maintenance, fuel, utility bills, property insurance, those type of things. Those are Fire District 2 direct expenses. They can't be cut. So it comes back down to the contractual services that we're funding and the number of positions that we're funding. To some degree, we are at the mercy of those contracting entities on what their pay increases are and what their employment costs go to.
Follow on, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Francis, thank you. You are queuing this up for me very well. I appreciate that. So what is the status then? Because, Mr. Chairman, in the past several years, a lot of discussion about the viability of Fire District 2 and its circumstance, and the intent was to eventually consolidate my term, Fire District 2, into one and have a new super district. The first, not the first step, but the last step was a contract period of 4 years, I believe, was the intent.
It's not written in the contract, but the authors of the contract, myself
Exactly.
included, did not envision the contract would go beyond 3 years.
Okay.
And there's language in the contract that needs to be addressed if this is going to be a longer contractual relationship.
Fair enough. Well, and that's why I raised the issue, because I believe last year you were revenue neutral or close to it.
Yes.
This year, not so much, and I am just concerned that we are not making progress on this consolidation effort nearly as quickly as we should to realize the efficiencies. And I have hesitancy, have always had hesitancy about these things, but what assurances do we have that this consolidation effort will progress in the coming year or so?
That's a very good question. I wish I had the answer to that. You know, the mill levies between Fire District 2's general fund and the general fund mill levy that's proposed for Fire District number 1 are really closer than they've ever been. So when the day does come that there's a merger or combination of these two districts into one, the mill levy is not as big a hurdle to overcome as it used to be. Fire District 1's levy, I believe it's, and you're going to hear this later this morning, is going to be around 13.4 something. Fire District 2 is 13.8 something. For next year. So that's close. That wasn't a fairly big obstacle to overcome looking down the road. We've tried to narrow that gap. I think we've done a good job narrowing that gap.
And I do commend you for that. And I know it's complicated because there are a number of entities that feed into the working relationship, but from an operational standpoint and an efficiency standpoint, for me, I've always struggled with 4 fire departments, and Chief, you and I have had this debate over the years. This is a step forward, and I look forward to those further discussions, and we'll continue to ask those questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Other questions or comments, Commissioner O'Hara?
Yes, thank you. Chief Francis, I can't get beyond calling you chief, but you know, as we were going through this process, that my big concern was the ratepayers within our District 2, because that's in my district. And this is difficult because you're really squeezed because of the contracts. It's like other people are making the decisions for you. So when we get beyond this period of contracts, let's just say in 2 years that we can be out of the contracts. You're saying that there's 3 more years, or there was a total of 3 years?
Saying next year is year 3, and
Okay.
I did not envision the contract as written to go beyond 3 years without an amendment.
So then Overland Park would take over their own fire
No,
services?
let me back up. We have 2 different contracts. When I'm talking about 3 years, I'm talking strictly about the Fire District 1 agreement. The Overland Park agreement has a 10-year term.
That's a 10-year term, did you say?
10-year term.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so this is the area west of Blackman.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I should have clarified that earlier on. This is the discussion about the terms of the contract and amending the contract. We're only talking about the agreement between 2 and 1, because when that was written, we envisioned that at some point the districts would combine under one district. So we considered that. The contract was really written as a temporary stopgap until some other structural or governance change occurred.
One follow-on.
Go ahead.
So you now have a new challenge in front of you? Like the past wasn't enough?
Oh, it's not new. It's on my plate every day.
Okay, thank you.
Let me try to get it to as brass tacks as possible for this year, because I think it's a broader conversation and one that we look forward to having regarding the future fire service in Johnson County and how we can do that most effectively and cost efficiently.
Thank you.
Yep. But for this year, the challenge that you are facing is the increase in the contract rate from Overland Park. suffice it to say, if we were to provide all those services in-house, it'd be more expensive than contracting with the City of Overland Park for the territory in which they provide contract service with Fire District 2?
Yeah, you can't forget why we did this to begin with. This transition of contract services was done because Fire District 2 lost the Overland Park contract, which was serving approximately 10.5 square miles of the city of Overland Park. At that time, Fire District 2 had approximately, including part-time employees, about 60 employees, 4 fire stations. We were able to reduce the fleet by 1 engine, which we just replaced. That's $1 million today that we saved. The central core of our district now is being run by an Overland Park engine that they fund. We eliminated a station. We closed that station and sold it. We paid off approximately $500,000 in Capers debt. We went from paying, when we were the employer, approximately 60 employees, to contracting out paying for 44 employees. Now, we knew that wages were going to come up, and we anticipated we had enough reduction in there that wages could come up. When we're talking about these increases for next year for both District 1 and Overland Park, they're largely related to what some of the chiefs call the salary war that's occurred in public safety in Johnson County. This is the trickle down to the public safety wages that started about a year ago in Johnson County, and they've gone into the fire districts and the municipal fire departments, and the people that we're paying for got sizable increases like most of the other first responders in Johnson County. That's why you're seeing the increase that you're seeing.
And I am comfortable with making sure that we pay our first responders well. They work on the front lines for us, and I think they should be compensated accordingly. And if I'm looking at page 9 of your chart correctly, in terms of the cost to the homeowner, the increase is somewhere between about $3 a month for this year.
Yeah, on the couple of the illustrations I provided, and I don't have that up right now, but yes.
Okay. Commissioner Allenbrand?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to point out a couple of things. First of all, we have to take care of our firefighters. They're out there every day taking care and making sure everyone's safe. And I do realize that this is in Commissioner O'Hara's district, and I've been involved because of being the liaison over the, the fire boards. And I understand your questions. And Commissioner Ashcraft, I know that there was a study done, I think it was in 1999, that the commission had done about consolidation. And I know that some commissioners see that pleasure, but, being the representative of my district, not everybody wants to consolidate. And, I can't force people to consolidate, so we need to work together. And I do always appreciate your detail, because I get a lot of questions, I get a lot of people asking me questions, and you're always so detailed. Your ability to put a spreadsheet in place of having, what's leased, what's sold, and working together with those other entities in Commissioner O'Hara's district and also mine. I really appreciate that. So if there's no more other questions, I do have a motion, or Commissioner O'Hara, you can make it, whichever you want to.
That's okay, you can make it, but I think that we have a question from Commissioner Ashcraft.
Oh, sorry.
I can wait till after the motion.
Go ahead with the motion, and then we'll hear from Commissioner.
Commissioner O'Hara, do you mind? I wrote over the motion.
I'm happy to do it.
Thank you, I'm sorry, I'll second it.
Sitting as the governing body of Fire District Number 2, I move to approve and adopt Resolution Number 2023-1, authorizing a levy of property taxes in support of the budget for the Johnson County Taxing District for the fiscal year 2024 budget year that requires a property tax rate exceeding the revenue neutral rate of 12.662 mils for the Fire District Number 2 General Fund, 0.679 mils for the Fire District Number 2 Debt Service Bond H Fund, and 1.062 mils for the Fire District Number 2 Debt Service Bond 1 Bond I Fund.
Allenbrand, second.
Okay, Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Allenbrand, thank you for your comments. And I do want to reinforce and I hope I'm not overstating this, but I suspect everybody at this dais is supportive of firefighters and first responders to the ultimate degree. I mean, since 9/11, I think it's just been burned into us how important that is. So my concerns are in no way reflected on their service and their value. I will suggest, though, that I have an equal or nearly equal concern about taxpayers. And since I've been at this dais, when these 4 fire departments come forward with 4 chiefs, 4 deputy chiefs, 4 organizations, 4 attorneys, 4 HR departments, 4 IT departments, and our taxpayers say, well, is that the most efficient structure possible? I struggle with that. I struggle with it mightily, and I have not seen anything to change that. And so I have commended Chief Francis, former Chief Francis, because he, and fire departments have long and deep memories and histories, but he was able to step up and say, okay, I have got to look at the world differently, and we can thank or blame Overland Park for pushing that issue. But I think that's a reality for all of our 4 little departments, because together they would have much more opportunity, be much more economically viable, and I would submit more efficient. If you look at other large metropolitan areas that have had multiple small departments that have consolidated, like Indianapolis and Portland over the last 20 years, they fought that initially because each little department wanted to keep their own control. And I respect that. But in terms of the benefits to the firefighters, in terms of training and promotions and job opportunities to taxpayers, to the removal of redundancies and costs, they all saw net benefits, both operationally and financially. And I think we would realize that here. To what degree, I don't know. That study that you're referring to is so dated that those figures are elusive at this time, but I suspect that they would be even more significant just given the realities of our costs. So I will support this, Chief. I will be biting my tongue because of the cost, but that is where I come from, and that is where I will push. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes. Commissioner Ashcraft, I echo your concerns, and I look forward to a robust conversation as to how we can encourage the consolidation of the 4 fire districts, because it is ridiculous to have redundancy in leadership, and it is not cost effective. So I look forward to those vigorous conversations, and I will be standing beside you to make sure that it does go forward.
Commissioner Faskin, Commissioner Albrand, last word.
I looked through all your documents. What is, the average tax, in the district? Like in my fire district, medium appraised value is now $500,000. So, you're looking at $600 for fire. I am at the lowest end of appraised value. I pay $280. So what is the average to medium in this district?
I can't, in just fire district 2?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have that data in front of me. What I did an analysis on a few properties to find out what that is, but I don't have the average.
Or the medium, or
for the district.
Can you get that to me? I'd be curious
I
how,
can probably get that.
how each district
Okay.
averages.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and if you don't mind sharing that, I'd appreciate it. But I understand where Commissioner Ashcraft and Commissioner O'Hara is coming, but I also understand the district I live in, and also the cities, Gardner, Edgerton, and the mill levies that they pay, and being respectful of working with elected officials and trying to work through their concerns as well. So also, there's a little bit of difference within some cities because of the new growth and because of what's happening in that district. So I just wanted to say I do care about what people are paying in taxes, and I know that also these districts care as well. So I just wanted to make that statement, but I do care. It's not that I disagree.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, let's call the roll on the motion.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
With reservations, but yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye, 7 votes in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Okay, and number 19 is resolution number...
Excuse me, I need you to close the public hearing, please,
Thank you very much.
officially.
At this time, we're going to close the public hearing before we consider item number 19. Item number 19 is resolution number 2023-2. Again, sitting as the governing board for Fire District Number 2 to consider approval of the 2024 fiscal year budget. We've now had discussion on this item, so unless there are additional comments, of which I see none, I will move that sitting as the governing body, or the governing board of Fire District Number 2, I move to approve and adopt resolution number 2023-2 to approve the fiscal year 2024 budget for Johnson County Fire District Number 2 as proposed.
Allenbrand, second.
Moved by the chair, seconded by Allenbrand. Seeing no further questions, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye, 7 votes in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
All right, motion passes. Thank you, Chief. Next, we have Tanner Fortney from the Mental Health Department to help us consider acceptance of a mobile crisis response expansion and development grant, which would add 3 full-time employees to the mobile crisis response team, the purchase of a crisis response vehicle, and the reallocation of expenditures of reserves for 2023. Mr. Fortney, good afternoon, or still good morning. We're doing great. Just feels like the afternoon at this point. But thank you for coming back. Thank you for your presentation at the agenda review. Quick reminder that if you can confirm for me that no additional county tax support is associated with this request, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Commissioner Fast and Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the metric of 1 hour, but I don't get how in western Kansas, most of the state can meet that 1 hour metric. Are they doing different metrics for different, part of the state? I mean, when you're in liberal Kansas and, you're going 2-3 hours.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know exactly how they're doing it out there, but the requirement and the guidance from the state is universal throughout the state.
Whether you're in Garden, Hayes, or Johnson County, it's 1 hour.
That's the guidance. Now, I think probably what
telehealth? Oh, sorry, different.
Well, I was going to say, I think probably what the real question would be. I did have a question come up from another commissioner earlier this week, and it was very similar to your question. So we did actually reach out to KDADS to see if they had a little additional guidance on that. I mean, is there a percentage, for example, like is it 90%? I mean, the way it's written in the guidelines from KDADS is that it would be 100%. And we received a response. It really didn't give us a firm answer to the question. Basically, the takeaway I had was probably in the future there will be some sort of a percentage established. It could be 100%, it could be reduced. I would anticipate probably as more counties are going to this and having to provide those services and they start struggling, especially in those rural areas, as you mentioned, where travel's going to be quite a challenge, they'll probably start looking at reducing some of that. But I doubt that I think the goal and the desired outcome is probably going to be an hour, because that nationally is what the push has been.
So it doesn't say, often in, mental health services, it is, I did hospice, mental health, and, and it was that you had to make contact within, so, you didn't have to be in person. I mean, does it define modality that you have to make a call? It says in person within an hour.
Yeah, well, I'll try to answer part of that, and Rob McDougall's with me today, so he might want to add to it. But mobile crisis is changing a lot from what we've typically done in the past. When we used to have referrals, and our MCRT referrals, that was where we had our own set benchmark and goal of about 24 hours for those contacts. But now that we're doing mobile crisis dispatch, that's changing, and that's where the 1 hour is. So I'm going to let Rob give you some more details on that.
Hi, Commissioner. There really is not a set standard nationally, and the state is not committing to a set response standard. It really varies. SAMHSA is encouraging folks to shoot for an hour based on their ideal crisis model. CCBHC and the revised requirements are asking for 1 to 2 hours. And KDADS is asking for setting a goal of 1 hour.
In person.
That's the way we're interpreting it.
And if you can't get a hold of the person, they don't answer the door, well, you just document.
Correct, yeah. We take, the referrals come from our crisis line, from our 988 crisis line. And so once the referral is made to mobile crisis, we are making a call very quickly, probably within 15 minutes, to just make sure that the person's comfortable with us coming out, assess safety, and so on. So we're doing that, an initial contact before we show up in person. Typically, that's en route.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, first of all, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out that there is a gross error on this briefing sheet. Mr. Fortney, it says here that you are Director of Operations. As I understand, you are no longer Director of Operations. What is your title, Mr. Fortney?
My title is Assistant Mental Health Director, but I would point out that when I wrote and submit this briefing sheet several weeks ago, I was still for one more day the Director of Operations.
Well, congratulations, Mr. Fortney.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And I've got to get myself a little pink hanky to put in my jacket. That's pretty sharp. That's pretty sharp. On a more serious note, Commissioner Fast, thank you for your question. I looked at this, and I say this with respect because Mr. Fortney, since he's been, well before his directorship, he has always been attuned to trying to look at and provide analytics. And when I was looking at this 1 hour standard on the face of it, it's not realistic. And I appreciate, and I'm sorry I did not catch your name. Is this your first time before us?
It's been a couple years.
Okay, well,
Fair enough.
okay, but I appreciated the clarification because I was asking, I believe yesterday, for example, MEDEC has a standard of having like 90% within 8 minutes or some time frame, because there are always outliers, and to have an across-the-board standard, that just does not make sense. And I appreciate that you recognize that, and I'm going to assume that you and other departments will work with KDAD to educate them. So, but having said that, are there any benchmarks out there that have been able to demonstrate an ability for most or their entire populations to respond within 1 hour? And I don't just mean in Kansas, I mean anywhere. Is that even realistic?
Yes, depending on how it's funded and structured, right? So there's mobile crisis response that's happening in Arizona, Phoenix, Tucson, I'm a little familiar with. And they have, it's much larger metropolitan areas, and they actually have folks 24/7 in a van, basically all the time, and are ready to respond as calls come up. But this is a developing model, and there's still, I think, aspirations and unknowns, both there. And we're trying to take as safe and deliberate of an approach as we can, and then collect data and let that then inform how we either expand or we do this moving forward.
Well, and fair point, because I look at this and my hesitancy is you're asking for 3 FTEs, and at best, you're going to generate 6,000 hours, man hours, people hours per year. So if you have a population of 6,000, that would mean they're responding every hour for every day that they work to try to meet that. And I don't know what your population is, but the concern is 3 can't possibly be enough.
No.
But what is the ultimate request? And while I am supportive of this, I do have those reservations. And Mr. Fortney, I may ask you about it from time to time. I look forward to your reporting.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to follow up with what Commissioner Ashcraft mentioned, that MedAct and fire departments have to have required times too, but there's allowance in those measurements, like the ISO ratings, that recognize if you're in a rural area or not. So I don't know if KDADS can be convinced to look at those models and do something different, but I know whatever I can do to be supportive of that, glad to do that.
Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Chair. I compare this a lot with ADA requirements. You know, it's impossible to meet each one of those requirements in a short specified amount of time. But what the expectation is that we're making progress. And that's what I think we're doing here, is we're making progress towards trying to meet that goal. The great thing about Johnson County is we're one of those communities that's going to be very, very close to meeting these recommendations that most people would say, how does that happen? How are you doing that? And again, I think that's a credit again to our organization and the work that people do in Johnson County.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes, my question is how are we going to be funding these 3 FTEs? Is this already built in the 2024 budget?
So they're not built into the 2024 budget, but the way that these positions will be funded is, so we're going to have the grant funding first. That's going to be a 4-year grant. We do have to reapply through KDADS every year for it, but we have been given assurances by KDADS. That's just the way they operate based on their budgeting. But we've been given assurances that if we apply, we're most likely going to get the funds just like other mental health centers in the state. And then once the 4 years are up, what we'll be funding this with is our Medicaid revenues we get from our CCBHC funds. And as a matter of fact, we're just submitting our new costing study that's just recently been completed, and it's going to be submitted this month. Excuse me. Going to be submitted this month, and that will adjust our PPS rate upward, our prospective payment system rate. So that will account for this. And I would mention, for Medicaid eligible individuals, when we respond, we will be able to bill as part of this. So there is a revenue stream built into the positions.
Okay, thank you.
And expanding Medicaid would allow more opportunities to have services reimbursed if more folks had the opportunity to have Medicaid through Medicaid expansion in our state, correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
Very good. So to me, in breaking this down, the state has a new requirement. There's a grant, an opportunity to help us meet that requirement. The requirement's not going to change, whether we like the requirement or don't like the requirement, whether it's realistic or not realistic. We can advocate to the state to adjust that to reality. But in the meantime, here's an opportunity to help us meet that requirement and at the same time try to prevent suicides in our community. So I think it's a good thing and something I will definitely support. Commissioner Hanslick?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm glad to make a motion on this item.
Go ahead.
I move to accept the Mobile Crisis Response Expansion and Development Grant in the amount of $399,685.20 and authorize the Mental Health Department to add 3.0 FTEs to the Mobile Crisis Response Team, MCRT, the purchase of a crisis response vehicle, and authorize the reallocation and expenditure of fund balance reserves for FY 2023 in the amount of $399,685.20.
Allen Brand, second.
Moved by Commissioner Hanslick, seconded by Commissioner Allen Brand. Commissioner Ashcraft, further comment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I appreciated your comments, and I wanted to also acknowledge Commissioner O'Hara's question, because that to me is what makes me uneasy. What I am challenged with is if we are not able to get KDAD to modify the realistic expectation. I think we will make the efforts. Mr. Myers, Johnson County is known for those efforts. But if they hold to that requirement and try to use that as leverage for us to maintain the certified community behavior health center requirements and as a funding mechanism, or to weaponize that, that would be very unfortunate, because that then puts pressure on us and our funding being driven by them and unrealistic, what appears to be unrealistic goals. So I just offer that. I'm supportive, but again, you know, I bite my tongue. I should bite it more, I know.
All right. With that, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye, 7 votes in favor, or none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That is correct.
Very good.
Sometimes
So
we
we're,
agree.
no, what I was saying is we are 2 hours into the meeting. There's been a request for a short break. Let's take a 5-minute break and be back at 11:35. Thank you all very much. We're in recess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sometimes we can agree. I mean,
We agree most of the time. All right, we're back from a brief recess, and we're going to consider item number 22, which is resolution number 079-23. This is consideration of...
Excuse me,
Oh, I'm
Chair.
sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much. Item 21, IFB 2023-007. This is consideration of grading surfaces and culvert construction project for 183rd Street. Ryan Sims from Public Works is here to talk about this project. Mr. Sims, thanks for your report at Agenda Review last week. Safety improvements on 183rd Street. Anything more you'd like to discuss regarding this one?
Just one item. Commissioner O'Hara did ask about the anticipated number of homes being developed southeast of 183rd and Mission Road, and there are currently 2 plats approved for up to 128 single-family homes, with several hundred more anticipated in the future to the south and the east
Okay.
of the limits.
I think that we estimated 200.
Yeah.
So the first couple phases will be 120.
128.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Go ahead, Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate that the reason for these expenditures, and it's cost us millions and millions of dollars and continues, is the leapfrog development of this island annexation that was approved by a Board of County Commissioners years and years and years ago. With Overland Park, we have a 2-mile break from 159th to 175th that's still in the county along Mission Road. And so we are responsible for those improvements. And then to the east of Mission Road, that is still in the county, and we are responsible, and that's the only way to get over to 69 Highway. We improved from Mission Road to Knoll Avenue, I think, 5-6 years ago. And now the bottleneck is between Knoll and Metcalf, and that is what we are working on now on the improvements. So when you are ready, I do have a motion.
Go ahead.
I move to authorize a contract with Lennon Weaver Construction Incorporated for grading, surfacing, culvert construction, seeding for the 183rd Shoulder Safety and Structural Improvement Project from Metcalf to Knoll Avenue in an amount not to exceed $1,175,502.75 per IFB number 2023-007.
Allenbrand, second.
So moved by Commissioner O'Hara and seconded by Commissioner Allenbrand. Seeing no further questions or comments, would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Fast. Aye. Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye. I have 7 votes in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Very good. Thank you very much, sir. And finally, now, is resolution number 079-23. This is the consideration of approving or a conversion of traditional merit-based pay structure to a step plan for the MedAct Emergency Services staff. That would be effective January 7th, 2024. Mr. Christensen, back with us again.
Good morning. So
Can't get enough of us.
Yep, Brent Christensen, Financial Management Administration, but also serving as interim director for Human Resources. Unfortunately, Deanne Osmond is not available, who is our HR compensation manager today, so I'm filling in today. Last week, Deanne provided the board an overview of the steps taken by Human Resources in evaluating MedX 24/7 first responder staff compared to the local market, and the reasons why Human Resources is recommending a step pay plan. Deanne also briefly explained how the new and current employees would be placed and converted to the STEP plan, and she actually provided an example. But there was a question regarding, I think, the crediting part of things. So to be fair and consistent with state STEP placement for a new hire, Human Resources and Emergency Services Management developed a year of experience credit key that will be used as a tool to make offers or to place people from promotions. This credit key was shared with the MedAct staff, and my understanding is that the staff had questions on how previous credit was calculated, but as a whole, the department was very supportive. Mr. Ashcraft, I know that you weren't available to listen to everything but from last week because you weren't here, but candidates in MEDAC's pool, they're in aggressive competition with the fire department. And so they're looking at the same roles as our MEDAC group that are providing ambulance services. So locally, most of those agencies have step plans in place, allowing a candidate to easily see where they will be compensated in 2 years, 5 years, so on. Emergency services have experienced candidates decline offers or resigned in favor of these agencies with step plans. Incentives and increased recruiting efforts have significantly lowered the vacancy rates. Last summer, MEDAC had 26 vacancies. Currently, they have 6. Now, part of that is related to incentives, but those are Band-Aids toward the core problem and not sustainable. When MEDAC, back last year, running some numbers, when MEDAC experienced that extreme vacancy last year, the remaining staff worked over 99,000 hours in overtime in '22. Now, they have a scheduled overtime, so that 99,000 hours is on top of 832 hours that each individual is regularly scheduled for as well, which equates to $2.4 million in overtime, or if we throw in the employer costs, $3.1 million in overtime pay. The remaining employees that we're working at, we're experiencing burnout, and with the current workload that we have today, they are feeling a little more balanced a bit, but the county needs to stay aggressive with recruiting and ensuring current employees are retained and feel valued so that they will not leave, and we want to have them also have a higher employee satisfaction. So to be clear, the action item requested is to seek the board approval to convert to a step pay plan for MEDAC staff effective 1/7/24. If this is approved, this new pay table will be included in the 2024 resolution documents, along with the request to approve the estimated $2.6 million to fund the compensation and employer costs. And with that, I'll stand with any questions, along with Paul Davis and Scott Sayre from Department of Emergency Services.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, again, Mr. Christensen, Mr. Dad, Robin, Ms. Symes, I really appreciate all your work. And I always like it when people make me look good, and just the work in our budget department and the detailed. And I highly support making sure that the MEDACT is reimbursed for the work they do, and you've done a very detailed layout to show that. And I think that the majority of this commission supported taking care of our employees, and I think that this is again, a very good, and I love STEP programs. I love the STEP programs within the county. I love them in this department, and I'm fully supported, and thank you for the details. And thank you for your work. And I know that the Kansas City Star, I felt like they talked about, 100 and some people that had heat exhaustion. And if you think of how many people attended there, and our MEDACT and other members of our county staff was there to take care of them, I really appreciate all your hard work.
A couple quick clarifying questions. First of all, there are about 159 folks that will be affected by this transition from a merit-based system to a step plan. Is that right?
That is correct.
How many of those 159 will see an increase in pay?
All of them.
All of them. Very good. Now, that percentage is not the same for all, and I know you all had a difficult challenge going from a merit-based plan to a step plan. One of the questions that I had and that I appreciated a little bit of clarification on is how you went about categorizing each person within a 16-step plan. Part of that was providing credit as a percentage for past roles. Correct me if I'm wrong, those percentages of credit that different positions received were different based on whether someone was a battalion chief, a captain, or a lieutenant. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And
Because of the type of work, the type of the job it is.
So it was based on the type of job as it relates to experience for that position in which they are currently being placed upon a pay table.
Correct.
Or, excuse me, a step plan.
plan, yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry for that ineloquence. And so the difference of percentage of credit for time as a lieutenant under, say, the captain's rank as compared to the battalion chief's rank was so that folks could be placed along the step plan within that particular position, not putting captains against battalion chiefs, for example.
Correct.
Okay, that helped me understand that a little bit better. And so I appreciate the work that's gone into this. It is an art as opposed to a science. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that all of our employees in MedAct are receiving an increase and to keep us competitive, to preclude as much burnout as we can. I think this is a necessary endeavor and one that I'm really happy that we went through. Thank you. Commissioner Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, in the field of organizational development related to work performance, there's a law called the square root law. And that says that on any given population, the square root of that population does 50% of the work. Okay, so a small subset. So out of 100 people, 10 people do half the work for that organization. And from that perspective, I am very uncomfortable with STEP programs because people put in their time and they get rewarded regardless of how much work they do. And that to me is contrary to merit and expectations. Now, having said that, Mr. Chairman, I realize that in the field and particularly in this environment that STEP programs are becoming the norm or reestablishing themselves as a norm. Merit systems have not been implemented and been seen to be particularly productive or useful, I think, generally, and we were probably in the same boat. So from that perspective, I understand why the chief and we are going in that regard. The one point, though, Mr. Christensen, and you touched upon a little bit, you elaborated on the analysis you provided, but I just wanted to revisit what we talked about yesterday because I feel that you are selling yourself short and this program short because you mentioned it, but have you done the analytics that show the projected, the intended impact on not just overtime and vacancies, but also employee morale and engagement? Those are core key performance indicators in a lot of organizations. Do you have that here, and will you be using that? And if you want to pivot to Chief Davis, please feel free.
I am going to pivot here.
So one of the things that we've looked at in moving to this plan, let me back up. Scott Starr, Deputy Chief of Johnson County Medic, thank you, Chair and Commissioners, for having us, was to establish a plan that recognizes that public safety professionals typically have a shorter career span due to the type of work that they do. We wanted to ensure that they get fair compensation in that short period of work that they are able to do this job. One of the things that we've looked at recently is trying to measure our turnover rate. Turnover rate has been something that's fluctuated and has plagued public safety, specifically the EMS field, for several years before COVID and certainly accelerated during COVID. We benchmark against national average to see where we're at. For the year 2022, MedAct had a turnover rate of 9.86, and the national standard in 2022 was 27%. So we're finding ourselves below a national benchmark, and that's a number that we keep an eye on a regular basis as far as a metric for longevity. Again, we have people voluntarily turn over for a variety of reasons, whether it's family, career, whatever it may be. But as far as the projections into what this will do for long-term retention, we anticipate that it'll be high, but we won't really be able to start measuring that until we put the plan in place and are able to offer that to our prospective candidates.
One follow-on, if I may. Thank you, Chief. Is Chief the right title?
You can call me anything.
Okay. No.
Let him do that.
My question, though, is have you done the analytics, the ROI in terms of this effort? Because it would seem like, and sometimes departments talk about the balanced scorecard approach, financial, operational, employee, and customer impact. Have you done that, and will you be using that as your performance expectations next year and the following year? Because I want to be supportive of this, but I really think you sell yourself short when you just offer generalizations rather than saying, hey, look, because I could see you coming back in a year or two and saying, hey, we had so much success with that, we could even do more, overtime costs, employee satisfaction, with a greater increase. And I'm not saying you should increase it, but that is a very persuasive argument for me.
Absolutely. And I think turnover percentage will continue to be one of our KPIs. We can look at other measures to implement as well. Some metrics that we do look at in our compensation table as it stands today and moving into the new plan is really trying to move our employee base towards maximum earning potential. So as it stands in our current plan now, we have only 9 employees that have reached that mark over their career. When we move to this new plan, we'll have 30 that have reached that mark on day one of the new plan. So we will be advancing our workforce through the plan to get to maximum again. And we think that that's going to help with morale, retention, and those sorts of things. But the specific metrics yet to measure that are yet to be developed. But the metrics we're looking at is how we progress employees through the plan and the percentages of employees in certain steps.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Chair. My experience with safety service personnel especially is you don't have to worry about them pulling their weight. Most of the time, they're pulling too much weight, and that's where the problems arising. With this step plan, they have that understanding of this is what I am going to achieve from a compensation situation, and it also gives that incentive, my belief is, it gives that incentive to climb the ladder and to lengthen the amount of time that you're going to spend in a department. And I think that's our goals is recruiting and retention. And I think this is going to, in my mind, this is going to achieve both. I know we have different types of compensation. Some's merit, some is a step plan. With merit, sometimes that's subjective, and personnel doesn't always know. They may be thinking they're pulling a lot more weight than what they're getting compensated for. In this situation, you have a known that's important for those employees to see, know, they understand, and they do their work, and then hopefully they're trying to achieve to get to that next level.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I echo what Commissioner Myers is saying. I've talked to some of our hardworking MedAct folks, and I know that they have had to miss important family occasions. I know that they have worked so hard to make sure that the services are provided, and I'm really proud and pleased to be able to support this step plan so that we can appropriately compensate them, but also, more importantly, in some ways, is attracting more people so that they don't have to work so many hours and miss those important family events and their family time. So thank you for this opportunity to support our MedAct staff.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'd be glad to. I move that the board adopt resolution number 079-23, approving the 2024 Emergency Services ES MEDAC Step Pay Plan, thereto as attachment 4, converting from a traditional merit-based pay structure to a step pay plan for MEDAC emergency service staff effective January 7th, 2024.
Myers, second.
Moved by Commissioner Hanslick, seconded by Commissioner Myers. Seeing no further questions or comments, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Fast.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Myers, aye.
Commissioner O'Hara.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Hanslick, aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Allenbrand, aye.
And Chairman Kelly.
Aye, 7 votes in favor, none against. Is that consistent with your count?
That's correct.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll move on to a report from our county manager, Ms. Penny Post Oak Ferguson.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman and Commissioners, have several items. The first, I'll ask Robin Symes, Budget Director, to come forward to give a review of the public hearing from Monday evening.
Hi, Robin Symes with the Budget and Financial Planning Department. At the public hearing on Monday night, we did have 40 speakers. Several topics were discussed. Many of them expressed their desire to keep the revenue neutral rate, and some expressed concerns with the sheriff's budget. There were also some that were supportive of the proposed budget, highlighting services such as aging, homelessness, and mental health. So I wanted to clarify just a few things and some of the conversation that happened on Monday night. This is just a reminder that the county does not retain all of the tax revenue collected. Schools receive 55%, cities receive 17.5%, and the county receives 15.4%, with parks and library at 2.6% and 2.7%. The other thing that was discussed during the meeting was the growth in the budget from 2015 to 2024. So again, wanted to clarify the differences between the property tax portion of the budget and also the non-tax county portion of those restricted funds. So as you can see, the general services budget, that's county, taxing district, ad valorem, and other revenues. It has increased from $310 million to $540 million on an average 8% per year. Non-county tax supported, again, those are restricted funds. It has increased from $560 million to $1.2 million, and that's the 14%. So again, although the budget has increased, that is not all property tax related funds. There were also comments regarding funding for the sheriff. So again, wanted to clarify the sheriff's funding over the last 10 years. In 2024, the sheriff's budget is $116 million. Out of the county tax supported funds, the sheriff's budget equals 17.3%, and the sheriff receives 23% of the county tax support. And then I just wanted to finish up and talk about the budget calendar one last time. The board has met many times. We started out on March 30th with the board budget retreat, and that's where we received guidance from the board on their parameters of what they wanted to see in the budget as we began that process. We then met with them 7 times to present pieces of the budget, provide input, and also hear questions and feedback from the Board of County Commissioners. Monday, we had our public hearing. Today is our report out, and then next Thursday, we'll have the budget adoption. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Symes. Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for clarifying that, because I know I reached out to you because I didn't understand some of the numbers, and I was going to reach out to, I think his name is Mr. Bauer, Phil Bauer, because I could not make the numbers to connect with his budget, and I remember seeing that last year as well, and I know the past chair had spoke with him, so I'm going to reach out and call him, and I appreciate getting the correct information, because you know, it is frustrating when there's miscommunication going out there and not correct numbers. I also want to clarify some numbers and I'm not sure if I'm correct or not, but from 2014 to 2020, will be 2024 budget this next year that we're approving, it's almost a 67%, if not higher, increase in the sheriff's budget. I also looked at 2018 to to the same next year budget, and from those years, it's almost 43% increase, and I just am appalled that we keep making comments, we're defunding the sheriff's department, and that's not true. You look at the budget, you look at the percentage, and because we have a memorandum of understanding, because Ms. Trent was, when she was hired, was to get budgets under control, and it's just keeping track of what goes in our budget that's under his budget, and I fully support our entire sheriff's department, and they deserve the raises they got. And I would, again, vote to have that happen again. But if you take a look at the full budget and money that was put in reserves to help with that fund, you just look at the percentage, of overall that's providing to our 45% of it is service budgets. I support that. But, I just, and it's almost bullying our staff and the comments being made. I appreciate anybody who wants to come forward with a different budget. But you know what? I would prefer, if you're going to come forward with the budget, take each one of the numbers and then tell me what you're going to cut. But to just come forward and say, not looking at true numbers and not providing information to the public, to me, I just apologize to the staff, because to me, it's not comparing apples to apples.
And I appreciate you bringing up that one spreadsheet that was provided by the resident. One thing I did want to clarify, we did look at that when we reviewed the different pieces to it. A lot of those recommendations are one-time. They're either capital reductions, and again, as we talked about in our budget principles, we fund our ongoing expenditures with ongoing revenue. And so if you were to take reductions one time, you would still have that deficit in the following year that you would have to adjust for. One other thing I wanted to clarify, and again, I think this is just the state's form, which is very confusing, and so for anyone who's not used to reading it, it's hard. You could misunderstand it. So the way that the publication is read, or is put together, is they have your actual expenditures, your estimated expenditures, and then when you actually put in your proposed budget, you have your expenditures plus reserves. And so some of those differences they're not apples to apples, but I can see for a resident where that would be confusing. And so again, that skews some of the numbers that were provided.
And Ms. Symes, I just really appreciate you clarifying that, because it is hard to understand, but I felt like with the information meetings you had, that we had 2-night meetings, and I felt like the staff went way beyond getting the notice out to people, along with commissioners also getting the information out. I just, MADACT, our blue coats that are in here, our sheriff's deputy, there's nobody that works harder, and I think it shows, the money that went into their pay increase were so well-deserved. And, just talking to some of them that are out, in Edgerton and Edgerton, and also DeSoto, where they're contracted with, they work hard. And I just want to clarify that, that to me is important to make sure that that's heard.
Commissioner Fast.
Yeah, I just want to thank Mark. He saved me last week. I had a number of constituent meetings, speaking of taxes, and really helped me break it down by city. So you're my hero, Mark, for the week. Also, on this, it would be helpful, it was really helpful talking with my, people from different cities explaining their taxes. But would this be possible to break this down? You have the annual, could I have 2015, 2016, 20, you know what I mean?
Oh, yes, each year?
That would, yeah, because I think that would be helpful, because then I have that together with my city information when I'm a mental health professional, not an accountant, so I use cheat sheets.
Yes, we can get that.
Very good. Commissioner O'Hara?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am just thrilled with the turnout that we had at the public hearing Monday night. I believe last year, we have 2 people show up, maybe 1 person spoke. So the fact that we had a packed room overflowing out into the commons area outside of the boardroom, I thought that was marvelous, and that we had 40 people willing to stand up and speak. And for a lot of people, speaking in public is not a comfortable thing. So I applaud those who chose to stand up and express their concerns, and these are huge concerns. And yes, the county budget is 20 to 25% of the total tax bill, depending on what city that you are living in. But we are setting an example for other taxing entities, and when we are rolling our mill levy back to such a quarter mill, which is nowhere near rolling it back enough for revenue neutral, people are frustrated. I mean, they're looking at huge, huge increases in their tax bills. And I mentioned before that, you know, my home and 2 small industrial buildings in Olathe, $7,000 increase in 1 year. I mean, this is serious. This is impacting small businesses. So for us to set up here and congratulate ourselves for raising taxes, we really do not have our pencils sharpened. And I will be coming up with some specifics, examples. And as far as the Sheriff's Department, I will have some percentages ready next week. Thank you.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Symes, I had failed to ask you this at the public hearing, but we had talked about this. I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on the one statement you had on slide 5 that said the community's most important services with the highest opportunity for rate of return, return on investment, not rate of return, were aging services and mental health. Could you elaborate in terms of what you mean by return on investment in that
Yes,
context?
within the community survey, it talked about this was the most important opportunity, or the highest opportunity for improvement. And so again, with improvement, that includes satisfaction and also increased services, which we align to return on investment.
So it's satisfaction. To me, it sounds more like a return on perception, because if it was return on investment, if you use that rationale, the least supportive of the survey that they identified that says the least supportive of adding additional resources would be for utility assistance. And utility assistance and the impact that it has on those individuals is huge. So I just am struggling with the definition of.
Can I weigh in on that? So it's a cross-section of importance and satisfaction. So it's a high importance, but the satisfaction can improve.
Right. And that's why, to me, it means perception rather than return on investment, the financial definition that I'm most
It depends how you define return on investment. It
Exactly.
can include satisfaction, it can include financial, it can include others.
But in the questions to the constituents, it does not say financial. It just talks about satisfaction.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify, I looked up, and last year's budget hearing, we had 27 speakers.
Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Chair. One of the other items that I heard a couple, if not a few residents that I thought there was some misunderstanding or they didn't realize, but was on FTEs, the FTE. Can you state, I think the number was like 75 total additional FTEs, but 33, was it?
Correct, 33 were tax supported, and again, those included sheriff, DA, MedAct were the majority of those positions that were tax supported. But correct, we had, for example, mental health was up here today, so you'll have changes throughout the year from charges for services, grant funded, and so yes, even though the FTE does increase from year to year, there are other funding sources other than property tax that help with those.
Thank you.
Ms. Postoke-Ferguson, how about a continuation of the report? And thank you, Ms. Symes.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Robin, and Budget Office. And we'll hear more about that because it's on agenda review. The budget's on agenda review. So next is allocation of new housing choice vouchers. So this is news because this hasn't happened since 2010. So the Johnson County Housing Authority, JCHA, was recently notified that they have been awarded 19 additional housing choice vouchers effective September 1st. So the level that we've had has been 1,447 since 2010, and so the allocation then will be brought up to 1,466. This means that the Housing Authority will be able to offer 19 additional households rental assistance. The notification letter and notice is attached, and Heather McNeve from the Director of Housing Services is in attendance. So I'll just pause and see if you want me to move forward. Looks like there's a question.
Commissioner Hanslick?
Thank you. Yes, that is an amazing thing that we got some additional vouchers. However, the concern is we don't have housing where people can use them. And I don't know if Ms. McNeve would be willing to just tell us of our current housing choice voucher holders, how many are struggling to find housing? They cannot use them. They have them, but they can't use them.
Yeah, so I'm Heather McNeve. I serve as the Executive Director for the Housing Authority. We currently have about 1,300 households in a lease. We have about 140 families searching for units right now. The board gave us the landlord incentive pilot program back in June, and we've seen some really good initial response from that. So we hope to see an uptick in our utilization soon.
Well, thank you. And just to follow on, are those additional 19, are they just going to be for general use, or are they specified for any particular population or need?
Yes, so they're just going to be added to our total regular vouchers, but HUD did encourage us to try and use them for homeless households and survivors of domestic violence.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fast, Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yeah, I just, we had a Housing and Community Committee last week, and Commissioner Ashcraft will be happy. 2 members of that committee I didn't prompt brought up about streetlights being funded out of CDBG. So, and then I did highlight the meeting that we had in NACO with HUD, and people were very excited. And that staff is working on the next 5-year plan, which will be invited to change the formula allocations to reflect more vulnerable populations and housing needs in the housing continuum. I was very impressed. I've been that committee, you know, and I know it's due to your vision and your experience, the discussion and the innovation that you've added to that meeting. I about fell asleep in the past, and now I'm like wanting to listen. So, you know, I'm really excited about all what you're doing, and that is leadership in work. So thank you.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. McNee, that's high praise, so very good. And I want to be enthusiastic about 19, but the question is, to add on to Commissioner Hanslick's observation, is what is the need? What are we estimating to be the population demand, and how big of a gap do we have there?
That's a really good question. HUD is the one that determines that for us based on their analysis at a federal level. The state of Kansas was awarded 29 total new vouchers, and we received 19 of those 29. So I would say that we have the most need, almost 2/3 of the need in the state.
All due respect, 29 seems like a pittance for a state.
I know.
I mean, because if I'm reading this, there were 4,000 new total?
4,000 were awarded federally and $50 million.
So obviously it wasn't divided by 50.
No.
Okay, very good.
Not like the U.S. Senate.
Yes, okay,
Any
thank
further
you.
comments or questions? Commissioner O'Hara?
Yeah, I just wanted to have the county manager report, or repeat the number of vouchers that we had, and what do we have now?
1,447 is what we have now, and then September 1st, it will be 1,466. Is that correct, Heather?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Continued report.
Okay, next item is notice of public hearing. The City of Olathe notified the board that they will be conducting a public hearing Tuesday, September 5th at 7 p.m. The purpose of the public hearing is to consider the issuance of $42 million in industrial revenue bonds in a 10-year 50% property tax abatement. The project is to construct a 438,314 square foot facility to be located approximately at the northwest corner of 167th Street and Lone Elm Road in Olathe. The project applicant is 167 Logistics Center West LLC. The notice of public hearing and cost benefit report shows a positive 3.09% cost benefit ratio for Johnson County, and the information is attached in the memo. And the project is located to the east of New Century. The last item is the SERI report, August edition. The full report's attached, but a few highlights. In June 2023, the unemployment rate was 2.7% compared to 2.4% the previous year. Year-to-date, single-family home sales through June were 4,127 compared to 5,078 last year. This is a 19% decrease. Single-family building permits, those numbers result in a 29% decrease. Total retail sales from Johnson County year-to-date through May 2023 were $7.9 billion compared to $7.5 billion through the same time period, which is a 5% increase. And with that, Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
On to Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I don't know if I'm out of order. I wished I had the Peg Trent cheat sheet, but I just wanted to make a comment that Fire One Board, the chair, and also have been here on agenda review, and I'm hearing commissioners' lunch and executive, and I've agreed just to take notes for them on agenda review, if that's okay. And I don't know if I'm saying it this at the right time. They've been here since.
And I don't know if you're looking at me or Peg, but my thought is you could, okay.
Maybe out of order, I don't know.
She's asking about agenda review. So Chairman, I'd leave it up to you. One thought is that before you break, if you're going to break for lunch, that you either allow comments on that, or were you asking Commissioner?
I can take notes.
If they don't need to be here, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I can take notes, good notes, and get it to them. I just, they have better things to do, and I heard lunch, and I heard, so I just didn't want to.
So I do appreciate that. And my suggestion, does that conclude your report? Yes. Thank you. So my suggestion is going to be thus. We can have commissioner comments. I would suggest that we open agenda review and take the items for the fire districts out of order, allowing them at least the opportunity, since they have been here, to address questions or topics related to the fire boards. We will recess agenda review, have lunch, come back, finish agenda review, have an executive session, then close the meeting.
If my fellow commissioners would be okay with that, they've been here, and so if that's okay, we can, wait with commissioner comments and go to I'm sorry,
No. We can have,
So, hold on. Thank you. There will be an opportunity for commissioner comments because it's part of the meeting. It's on the agenda. Per our rules, we got to do it.
Right, okay.
Now, people can be streamlined in that if they so choose. But we'll have it, and then we'll take a recess of this meeting to allow the executive session later after agenda review. Okay? So with that, let's do commissioner comments. Let's start with Commissioner Fast.
Oh, God, I thought we were waiting, so sorry. I would just wanted to highlight the Kansas City Ballet is now going to have a wonderful facility, had ribbon cutting on Friday, and they'll be providing classes for all ages and all abilities. Also attended the Evergreen event on Saturday, and they outlined their plans for their new facility, which should be given to all of us at some point. So it was, I'd say they had like over 700 people at their event. It was very impressive, constantly people coming in. Jody was there, so thank you, Jody, for attending. But that's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Myers.
No report.
Commissioner O'Hara.
okay, let me catch my breath here. Yes, this morning we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had Debbie Detmer from Shawnee who made public comments. Again, we do not, because of the decision of the majority of the board, we do not broadcast our public comments. So each week I just let people know who has made the public comments and what their subject matter was. So first off is Debbie Detmer from Shawnee, and she was concerned about the amount of debt financed on taxpayers' backs. Ben Hobart He was talking about COVID and how it looks like that there's some indication that masks will be required in certain settings. I know that I've read a couple, I think 95 universities are requiring the COVID shot, and he was talking about how the risk for young people is very minimal and that there are more risks with the COVID shots. Leo Kayak was here speaking about some issues that he was having with staff. Nancy Moneymaker, she was talking about some of the BOCC members' use of position as a stepping stone for higher office, and then also talking about the enormous tax incentives that are being given Panasonic. Jill O'Connor was from Overland Park, was talking about her concerns about the memorandum of understanding, which she read from it, and her take was that it was for the control of the sheriff's office. Maria Holliday from Overland Park was talking about transparency and asking that one meeting a month be an evening meeting. And then from the public hearing Monday night, there was one gentleman that talked about the lights being out over on this side. That's for me. I've asked staff to turn some of the lights off because these lights do tend to trigger migraines, and it has worked wonderfully. And I really thank Mr. Waters for accommodating me on that. So it's not because the staff is not being vigilant on keeping up on maintenance. It's actually that it's done for my benefit. So this week, obviously Monday night was a public hearing on the budget. I attended a community information meeting last night on a project out in the Stillwell area. And then normally, as always, I'm at the Juvenile Detention Center on Tuesday afternoons with Bible study, and that continues to be a huge, huge blessing, and really, 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 really enjoy that. And also, I wanted to let the staff know from the planning department, I really appreciated the sympathy card that they gave me. My brother died last Thursday, and his funeral is Saturday, and I really appreciate everyone's wishes of that healing, and that. But I was telling everyone that he had been ill for a long time, and so. But it's always hard. And with that, that's all I have.
Commissioner Hanslick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just very briefly, I had the privilege this week of attending the Kansas Housing Conference, which was held here in Overland Park, put on by the Kansas Housing Resources Corporation. And on Tuesday, I joined Christy Boffman of United Community Services and Megan Foreman, our housing coordinator, to share. We did a presentation and a workshop on Johnson County's work to address the spectrum of housing needs in our communities, and we had very good response to that. A lot of folks were grateful to look at a potential strategy that they might also follow. So very grateful for that opportunity.
Thank you. Commissioner Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as I've stated, and we know, I was not here last week, so I apologize if this subject was broached, but I wanted to address Mr. Waters if I could. Mr. Waters, my understanding is that you have made a momentous decision and that you will be leaving this DS and the organization before the end of the year. Is that correct?
Not till December 22nd. I'm getting every piece of that I can.
Yes. Well, and Manager Post Oak Ferguson, thank you for that comment. I don't know if that was recognized from the DS last week. If it was, I apologize for repeating that. I've had the opportunity to know Mr. Waters for quite some time, actually before I began service with the county. working with him through the city of Olathe. And we always found, from the city of Olathe's perspective, we always found Mr. Waters to be dedicated, attentive, factual, detailed, and generally a nice guy. So, Mr. Waters, I look forward to the opportunity to say farewell and roast you.
Whoa.
Commissioner Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm not going to go over everything because of time being supportive, but, you know, I just wanted to, first of all, Commissioner Dennis Kissinger has just left the Airport Commission, and he probably this next year is going to be moving towards his grandchildren, so I appreciate his service. And I again just want to say something to Aaron Otto, Larry Peep, and all the staff, and I'll get into that later. But I would just like to give some information of some good news. So just to let you know, there's 3 new buildings that will be going in to New Century, so that's over 1.5 million square foot. That's probably on the low side of economic development that will be out there. Also, you know, the new tower going in, and one of those buildings will only use rail, so that will help take the trucks off the road. So I wanted to make that comment just to let you all know what's going on at our airport. I think sometimes we just don't hear some of the good news that's going on. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you all very much. I'm going to forego my comments today and recess this meeting. I'll ask the clerk to start us up with agenda review, and we'll take the fire district items off the top. So we're